What's up, everybody? Ant-nee here. Welcome back to Badum Biz. It's just me today. No Paul today. Probably the next episode you'll hear Paul. So there's going to be episodes where you hear both me and Paul talking. Maybe just me talking. Maybe just me and a guest. Maybe just Paul and a guest. I don't know if Paul wants to do a solo episode. I'll ask him. We'll see. But definitely, what's going to be great is Paul and I with a guest or guests. So very, very much looking forward to it. As you could tell after listening to the first episode with him, the last episode, we could talk. We could fucking talk. And even when we're like wrapping it up, oh yeah, okay, we should probably stop talking now. We just talk for like another 30 minutes. And that's usually how things go, even when we hang out. So especially when we're with Kat and Rich, you guys remember Kat and Rich. Eventually we'll have them back on for sure. Today I wanted to do a solo episode because as far as my home recording drumming stuff, I think the last thing I mentioned was doing like drum covers again. But in the process of doing these drum covers, specifically, like I said, the electronic-y side of things, maybe hip-hop side of things, it just like opened up, other ideas. And so I just want to share some of them. I don't know. If you don't like it, turn it off. It's going to be very drum-centric stuff. So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm just going to introduce the sounds around my kit. I'll first start by talking about whoever's not a drummer. If you were to, obviously this is even stuff like that in movies, like those are drums. Sure, great. I'm gonna talk about drums as far as I guess I don't want to say pop music, but music that we listen to groove to. How about that? Okay, so this is for sure. This is rock music all the way to dubstep, or some crazy future bass or even trap. What you'll hear, the main sounds that you'll hear, drum-wise, you'll hear two sounds. You'll hear a low sound and a higher sound. All right, so maybe like seriously, it's this simple. Stomping on the ground, clapping your hand. Stomp, clap, stomp, clap. When you hear We Will Rock You, stomp, stomp, clap, stomp, stomp, clap. That's the whole song, right? 3 notes over and over again, right? The whole time. And everybody loves it, and they play it at every sports game. So the thing that all the extra stuff is kind of like glue. Think of it like glue. So, for instance, if this is the beat, then you'll definitely, without a doubt, hear on the hi-hat. All right. So glue meaning like glue is kind of like music's so abstract. I just use glue as like a thing of keeping things together, right? But you can also think of the cymbals or the hi-hat, whatever. Think of it as thread. Right? It's a thread that connects note to note. And it's not in your face. Like, that's in your face, that note, without a doubt. It's a loud, aggressive note, right? That was the bass drum. Hold on. Had to fix my tom mic. This is an aggressive sound. It's in your face, right? These are sounds that, if you're standing right next to them, whoever's not used to hearing loud sounds like that all the time, if you work in an office, if you were to stand next to a drum set or not know you were standing next to a drum set, and all of a sudden that would happen, right? a big one of those, you'll blink your eye. Your eyes will be like, oh my God. Same with the snare, of course, right? So that, even, they're just not aggressive sounds. They're light. But this, if I were to take the same and play it here, this sounds like, that sounds like, oh, cool. Somebody's like kind of working. Yeah, somebody's focused, right? This, I mean, that sounds like somebody's about to run a marathon, right? Like one you can listen to while you're working. One is kind of like you need to be running and moving, right? All right, I think you all get the point now. So I break down these sounds into the categories for the most part of like boom and bop, stomp and clap, right? So now here, I have one bass drum. Oh, shit. Poor me. I have one bass drum. The reason why, here, let me start with this actually. On this kit, I have a snare here in front of me, another sounding snare here. And then even when I take something off of it and I have that, I have a different sound, right? I have this little tiny thing. And then I have this, it's a floor tom / snare. When I flip the snares on, it's this fat thing. Okay, I have 4 snares. Arguably 5 different snare sounds, maybe more. And then they all even have like their cross stick, what's it called, But I have one bass drum. The reason is because the thing is huge. It's the biggest thing on the kit, right? And it has to be. When you think bass frequencies, you have to think space. You have to think air. You have to think filling of space. The reason is low frequencies apparently travel slower or something like that. So you need more space to get those frequencies to actually like come out, I guess, if that makes sense, to be audible. Something along those lines. I mean, I got a tinier bass drum across the room over there, but it's still significantly larger than all the other drums in front of me, right? My point of saying that is I would love to have 2 bass drum sounds for sure, but it seems as though the only way I can do that is to, maybe have like an electronic bass drum thing pedal next to this pedal here, and I just, trigger a sound or something like that. But I want the real thing, you know what I mean? You know how I roll. I want the real thing. So where I make up for all this stuff is kind of like, I guess it's kind of like all the other stuff makes up for. So it's, if I'm playing different styles, I'll play the bass drum. I mean, maybe the patterns will be different. Sure. Maybe if I have time, I'll tune the bass drum differently. Sure. For the most part, though, it's like the intent behind each note, if that makes sense. The attitude behind each note. And then, of course, all the other sounds on top of it, right? So like if I'm playing like a hip hop lo-fi thing, I don't have to have I don't have to be that loud. I could be like, I could be kind of delicate. I could be even more delicate if I'm playing like R&B. Right? If I'm playing like a techno house type thing, it kind of has to be. Right? It has to be that. And then if I'm playing like something really like maybe an up-tempo rock thing, it has to be punchy, okay? But all the other sounds help morph the idea of what you're presenting. And this is like something I've been working on for years, and it's hard to explain. So, I might be like sounding like I'm living on a different planet, and that's fine. Maybe I do, but it's kind of like you're giving an illusion, right? I'll give you an example. I think I already went on a tangent and off topic here, but whatever. These are the ramblings of Ant-nee. If I was to play, because I've been listening to a lot of Disclosure, so if I was to play some of the ideas in their songs, of course there's house music, right? And of course there's this sound, of course, and then there's a clap, right? But I heard this in one of the songs, something like, right now, whether it was a hi-hat or some sort of shaker, doesn't really matter. It's a high-pitched sound, and it's there. And now that's threading the groove. So you can make the argument, well, okay, well, this is the groove. Instead of, this is the groove. Sure. But my ear picks up everything. I always go like, is it just that? And when I listened closer, no, that hi-hat is still there. So then I'm thinking, how the fuck would I do that? Now, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to, what's called sticking. I'm trying to stick this between right and left hand, different patterns to get this thing out. I want to have this, but I also want happening at the same time. Now, here's the thing. All of these notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, that's one measure. That's 16 notes. It is impossible unless I have wickedly fast. I mean, I could almost do it, but I'll probably only be able to do it for 4 measures. That was with one hand, right? And then the other hand would be doing the other shit. So we're just going to assume it's not impossible, but it's just not, it's not productive. It's not worth playing every note, right? So what you do is you pick the notes. I like to think of them like there are notes that, not that they take priority, but there are notes that just are closer to the listener's ear than other notes, right? And here's what I mean. So let's say, right? That's 1 E and a 2 E and a. Well, there's a bass drum on 1, 2, right? Now, if I do that for a long time, same with 3 and 4, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So if I play, we can argue, right? Depending on how the song is mixed, obviously house music, the bass drum has to take priority, right? Because that's what makes people feel and dance, right? So we can argue. We can argue that because that's such a high-pitched supportive sound, the hi-hat thing, that maybe you can hear count 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 1 E and a 2 E and a. Sure. But the bass drum is going to drown it out. And it moves so fast, right? Especially when you add the. Right? So here's a question. Here's the idea that I can leave that note out. Every note that the bass drum plays on, I can leave it out. Because it's going to be significantly louder than the hi-hat note. So then, now my pattern becomes, instead of 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. All right, here we go. I'm going to count. E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E. So then now I'm going. That's one hand. And then the bass drum. I just saved myself from having to do more work, right? Okay, so then now if we leave out this sound over here, I remember I wanted 1 and 2 and 3 and. So now we go back to this. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. My left hand is totally free to just play literally this. 1. Okay. So guess what? If I want to, I can go 1. That's what my left hand would be doing. Now that's still kind of challenging to go with, but let's try it. And I might sound like shit, and that's kind of good because it's going to kind of prove my point, right? See, already, it's already challenging to like process. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I can't fucking do it. Yeah, it's fucking hard. Now, in this process, you're eliminating things that aren't going to be prioritized to the just natural prioritization. I almost butchered that word. The natural prioritization of sounds to the in the listener's ear. It's going to go to the bass drum on 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also going to pick up the clap sound on 2 and 4, right? Now, the bass drum and the clap, which one wins in that regard? The natural prioritization of sound says that the clap wins, just because it's of a higher frequency. Not a high frequency, higher frequency. It's like a mid-range frequency. It's like a speaking voice, male or female, in the speaking voice range, right? And anything above that is like here, like in the frequencies, right? Like even higher, right? That was cute. So my point of saying that is, if we were to break down the what's important in this beat, it actually is, right? This is extra, but it doesn't mean it can't be there, right? So my hi-hat foot controls this, right? So I can do this. So that's my right foot, left foot, and my left hand. My right hand was doing nothing. Now I can continue to do 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda. Let's try it. Yeah, I mean, that works, right? Then I was thinking, there's a hi-hat note, the ands, 1 E enda, 2 E enda. It's already being covered by that sound. So then what if I can coordinate going 1 E 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and This is kind of hard, but when you practice it, and it's easier with a metronome, it comes together. And now I filled out the whole picture, and the illusion is that that's happening, or some sort of, right? Everything that needs to be there is there and highlighted, and everything that's underneath as to threaded in a certain way is present, but doesn't have high priority, right? So I'm going to try to do this, right? So right there, I try to drop the bass out. That's something that happens. And I didn't. Now you have to put back in that note that the bass drum would cover. So now I have to work that out. So then, okay. So in real time. Anyway, I know it's not perfect, but this is something I've been practicing lately. All right, been very cool. And what I like, okay, and the reason why I'm talking about this stuff is there's another thing that I discovered through this process. You know, for drummers out there, there are, look, we're coordinating our right and left hand with our right and left foot in different ways. So it's some people think like, oh, this one plays this rhythm while this one plays this. Sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes they have to play the same things and then leave each other and then come back, if that makes sense. It's weird. The right and the left hand could be working together on one idea, right? And the bass drum could be supporting that same idea, right? And then maybe the right hand has to leave that and do something else for like 2 beats and present another idea and then come back to the original idea. So then you have 2 ideas happening at the same time, right? And then now that kind of makes it feel multi-percussion type thing, right? Something like that, like there's multiple sounds in the drums, right? And it's cool if you can work stuff like that out. And this is how drummers think. So there are books that are out there that without a doubt have been passed, to me by other drum teachers and drummers. Like, oh, you got to check out this book. Oh, it's great for your coordination. I'm not even going to name the books because you all know what the names of the books are, without a doubt. Okay, and there's so many of them, by the way. Let's see, the authors of these books put together like a whole bunch of pages of different combinations of different patterns of coordination. And sometimes it's wacky, like some shit like that. I mean, where stuff like that, right? The whole idea of those books, if I'm to guess, was if you play all of the patterns and you've kind of like worked them out already, you're basically storing those coordination ideas and those connections in your brain. And then when something comes up in the music that you're playing, I think the original idea was for jazz, right? Oh, and then you'll be able to access these ideas without getting tripped up, because that's the thing, that drummers will hear something and want to play it, but they don't necessarily know how to get it out, or they know how to get it out, but they know they can't do it. It's too fast, let's say, or too much coordination, right? Here's my problem with that concept. I mean, it does make sense on paper for sure. I don't feel like that works or has worked for me. To be honest with you, I feel like I have good coordination, and all that coordination came from playing specific music. Without a doubt, there's no bullshit in here. Like, it came from playing music. And this is both like classical percussion, new classical percussion, and then, of course, drum set over the years, from everything from jazz to electronic music, right? And most of the coolest coordinations I've done were just listening to a beat. It could have been in like an electronic or hip hop beat, and then trying to reverse engineer it, and put it on drum set. So I needed like this very stimulating pattern and idea and it's a piece of music to kind of like, when I get this shit, this is going to feel so good, rather than overloading myself with a bunch of patterns that I actually may never use or play. And my point is I need to have a musical application for something if I'm really going to like absorb it. It just has to make sense musically. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain patterns that I've been in bands and, all right, guys, we're going to do this hit here. We're going to do this ba 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 ba, whatever, I don't know, it could be anything. Or, hey, can you do this beat there, or whatever? Somebody comes up with a pre-existing idea. And let's say what we had prior to that, getting to that idea in the music was very good. It sounded very good. It felt very good. And then they were forcing this rhythmic statement in there. And it just broke away from the feel of the song. And it was just to do it. I feel like it didn't have any musical reason to be there. And things like that are things that I do not like. I need to have, there has to be a musical reason for something to be there. Period. All right. And if it's not aimed, if the intent is not to physically move somebody or emotionally or both move somebody, then it shouldn't be there, in my opinion. That idea of overloading yourself with all of these patterns, getting them all down, it's like perfectionism. It's like, and that's I don't know. I guess that's the problem with perfectionism is that's to me, that's the same as I'm going to, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to the idea of like, I'm going to buy all the best recording equipment and software before I start recording and creating music. What? That's ridiculous. Here's why. When you get that stuff, you have so much to learn. I mean, you have to learn how to use all the gear, all that stuff. You have to learn how to use it and then make time for music creation, whatever, creating. Excuse me. Allergy season. So that idea to me is kind of crazy. So I kind of don't subscribe to that. Now, look, if that shit works for you, or the simple fact that, you know what, man? You know what, Ant-nee? Fuck you, man. I enjoy playing all those patterns. Guess what? I cannot argue with you. That's your prerogative. Go for it, man. I actually dig that you have fun with that stuff. I dig it. Do it. I'm just talking about my opinion here. But I'll kindly take the go F yourself. That's fine. So back to this whole idea here. So that was one thing I discovered through this process. Now back to the sounds. Now I have, like I mentioned, snare sounds, right? Right, I have that snare sound. That would be for a range of different styles, and I have this kind of like medium fat type thing. Yeah, whatever. And then this one for like a more... Right. And then we got this little mini guy here. Right, that one. And that could be for so many things, like that was kind of like a drum and bassy type thing. Okay, and then there's this guy, fatness. Right. I got all the snare sounds. Sometimes I want something that's there to have the role of what the snare does. Right? But not be as punchy. There's something about house music I really like, and electronic techno. I like they use hand claps, man. It's cool. Because this is cool, sure. Right, fine. But this is better. So much better. I also have this thing over here. So this is like a short type of sound effect, clap sound, right? Then I have this guy. So that's a little longer, maybe. Right? So if I do the same beat, it's kind of cool, right? It gives it another vibe. And then there's when you mix sounds, right? So then let's say, so check it out. Let's say I like, that's a cool beat, right? But I want an accent count 4. But I really can't do anything different by hitting this snare, right? 2, 3, 4. But I could do this. Sure, I can also go. Right? It's so effective. Okay. And this is what I've been kind of fucking around with. And it keeps me fresh. I feel like when I'm actually in a creative situation, the drum parts are gonna be, I guess it's gonna be constructed based on the other parts. The melody, the bass line, chord progression. Is it a piano or a guitar or both? Like what's the rhythm? Like things like that. That's what creates, the beat that I'm gonna play, the rhythm, the pattern. It can't just all come from like what I want to do. It has to serve something. So I don't know. That's where it's like that's where I think like if I think like it's like thinking like a producer. So I go from what's in my mind, and if somebody presents an idea that's a melody, rhythm, whatever on another instrument, some sort of thing and vibe, whatever's in my head, I'm gonna want to try it out at least, and then see if they like it, see if it fits, see if it works, and so then therefore my coordination, all that stuff, will hopefully be able to do what I want to do. And if it can't, I will remember to and I will practice it. I'll write it down if I need. Sometimes I've had to do that. Like I've transcribed notes, musical notation of what I was like inspired to do, and that became the part in, let's say, a song with a band or an artist that I played with. Yeah, that's the way to go in my opinion, because it all is funneling into creating with others and serving a musical purpose. If I got to be honest, I'm this is where I'm different than other drummers. I don't like just sitting down and practicing stuff, for the sake of stuff. Like I could do this now at this tempo. Now, should I probably do some of that? Yeah. But I don't enjoy it that much. I like to play for fun and enjoyment. However, when I do go to play for fun and enjoyment, and then I get this, maybe I'm playing with somebody, jamming with somebody, and then I get this idea that I want to play, and I just can't fucking execute it clean. That's the moment where I'm like, okay, I probably should be like practicing some exercises. So you have to balance it. Without a doubt, you got to balance it. And there are some cool books that I will I'll just do a few pages from. But yeah, that's that. To shout out drummers who inspired, how this whole process of like having, the sounds on my drum set and what they're for. I think the first person is Jojo Mayer. That guy changed everything for me when I started seeing the videos of him playing. He's trying to replicate as a drummer, like the human form of what electronic music does, electronic drums do for music. And it's a completely different approach. And it kind of changed. It totally, my trajectory in music changed because of that. And then also I would say Chris Dave too, seeing Chris Dave playing fucking killing hip hop beats. I mean, like killing hip hop beats with such a groove. I mean, it almost was like you don't need a producer, you need Chris Dave on the track, kind of thing, And that's what you want as a drummer, is you want to be the music. You don't want to be a copy of. So both those gentlemen for sure. I would say Mark Juliana definitely. I think Brody Simpson. I mentioned these cats before, but they as far as like with like Brody Simpson, if you guys go check him out on Instagram, he's very creative with his sounds, the sounds that he gets, and then the vibes that he creates. And then he like, he goes in between of like, oh, I've heard a beat like that, so he like recreates something very unique. And then like I think in his process of trying to maybe recreate something he's heard, and it may, by the way, it may not be recreating an actual pattern or beat. It might be recreating a feel or a pattern or something. I'm sorry, a feel or a vibe. And then he'll just create a pattern based that creates that vibe. I think in his process though, he discovers other shit, and and a lot of his sounds are it's not just from the how he's treating the drums and what cymbal stack he has and what he's putting on the drum or whatever, how he's tuning and the pattern. A lot of even his production, because he records and mixes himself. And oh my God, sometimes he'll do some shit where he'll hit like a bell of a ride, and he'll have like a flanger with a reverb or some shit like that on, and it might be only on like count 4 in the fourth measure of the beat or something like that. Anyway, these fellas, I mean, unreal. I'm trying to think of. Try to think of like a couple more, but shout them out just for like sake of my inspiration. I mean, I like Nate Wood. He's shown me definitely like, oh, you can play that with one hand. that motherfucker's playing bass with one hand, drums with the other hand, then hitting keyboard notes, and it's just like, and his feet are just doing. Oh, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Nate Smith. Yeah, that dude's groove, man. Fuck. Man. Any others? I like that guy Dan Mayo. He does some cool shit. Yeah. So anyway, that's my approach. And I was inspired by those cats, and that's that. And thank you everybody for listening. Keep tuning in, because the next couple episodes we'll have Paul and possibly a guest. All right, you guys have been great. Thanks for listening thus far. And Badum Biz to you.